One of the
I know.
really cool things I've seen recently from you on a debatable standpoint, and we briefly touched on it here, but it is, essentially during the fall having different plots and different mixes, right? And on the same
Yeah.
property, right? And frankly,
What do you mean by that? Different plots and different mixes.
so basically on your property, you'd have this plot's brassica, this plot's oats, this plot's annual clover.
Okay.
And Jeff, it's of your opinion that they should be consistent.
Very much so. And that's
Meaning all the
that's
same.
why I feel like we've had so
Okay.
much success with our hunting in Wisconsin, Minnesota, the UP, because what it does is it spreads out your deer herd. So say, for example, let's say you have clover peaking in September and it's very, very attractive. And then you have corn somewhere else, maybe you have brassica somewhere else, something that's going to be more for November, something that's going to be more for December. And here, just a second.
I see. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what happens is you spread out your deer herd, and if they're all confining and they're all attracting to one food plot, then you have bedding areas that aren't being used.
Mm-hmm.
You have stand locations that aren't in use. You have travel quarters, water holes, mock scrapes, because the deer are all attracted to one portion of the property. So you could have 100 acres and deer really only utilizing 30 of it because they want to stay in that window of that attraction. Well, when you do that, you can't fit as many deer into that area. And it becomes a high stress situation where there's a lot of infighting and territorial stress between does and doe family groups and dominant doe subordinates. So then I find that you have deer leave. They don't want to be in that stressful situation. So if does and fawns are not happy and you're not holding as many does and fawns, then what about your mature bucks? So all these mature bucks that might use XYZ bedding area, well, those bedding areas are now vacant because everything's stressed over to the one side. So if you put those same mixes in all your food plots, then you establish doe family group residency around each one of those food plots, and it stays consistent. You want it to be as boringly low stress consistent the entire hunting season. And for that, then you establish all these micro movements of mature bucks that relate to that boring movement. Sure, the bucks might establish 95% of their home range after dark, but those doe family groups just go, they bed tight to those.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure you have bedding areas next to those food sources, and then that'll allow those bucks to align in. And what we find a lot of times, you shoot one buck out of that alignment in one certain situation, you'll find another buck move in late October, November, because they love that food. They love the low stress. The does are there. They have this location over here. And so to me, it's critical that each one of your food plots is planted the same. And it might be that your hunting plots, because they need to tolerate a much higher level of browse pressure.
Sure.
They might be that you're layering rye so that you're trying to develop a really thick thatch base going into the hunting season. So it's more like a sod base of rye, or maybe you're using clover on each one of your hunting plots, but you're keeping your hunting plots consistent. That doesn't necessarily they're going to be as big as or the same as a holding plot.
Mm-hmm.
And but then you're keeping a uniform planting across your entire landscape from hunting or holding plots.
I like that. I think that, like, in the traditional sense, people are planning those different things to time differently, like with their cell cameras, and putting and like rotating their hunting pressure with different stands as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that I like that reverse on that with doe groups. And
well, would it be fair to say it seems, Jeff, like a more of a classical like food plot approach has been for people to want to try to plant food plots to hold deer like year round. They're like, well, I need clover for the spring and I need brassica for the late season.
And I didn't want to go back to that.
Whereas it sounds like your strategy, Jeff, is more like, well, listen, I'm not worried about holding deer year round. I want them here during the hunting season and I want them to feel less stress during that time. Therefore, I'm planting a more consistent.
Yeah, maybe to add to that point, like, what if you have these guys that have like great summer bucks in velvet because they have been planting that summer food, and then they can't hold them in the fall, like their fall range goes off the property? What would you say for those guys that are like, I have a 180 in velvet and then he's gone? So what should I do differently?
There's always exceptions to all of this, of course. That's what's fun about it. But, in general, where you find, and this is probably 80-90%, where you find mature bucks during the summer is not where they're going to choose to be in the fall, because they need a completely different set of habitat conditions. They need fall food and they need fall cover. During the summer, they need summer cover. So summer cover for bucks is high overstory and shade. They can't smash their velvet through this high stem count cover that they prefer in the fall. Yeah. So if you have a lot of mature bucks during the summertime, it's a telltale sign that something's wrong with your habitat.
Say that
They
again.
really shouldn't be there. If you have a lot of summer bucks and those velvet bucks on your land during the summertime, it's a telltale sign that something's wrong with your habitat because you're going to lack the ability to hold those during the fall. And someone might have 1,000 acres and they're going to say, okay, these 200 or 300 acres the bucks are at, and these 600 or 700. But even then, I want every acre working for me during the fall, because that's the only time when you can influence a deer herd, when you can grow a deer herd, when you can hunt a deer herd. And then frankly, when you look back to the case of the UP, the crops that I had during the summer didn't necessarily translate into winter survival rates. It was more, how much food can I give them right before they go to the winter and right when they get out?
Right.
That's the most critical time of the year. And that's it's kind of a lowest hole in the bucket. You know, you can't take care of them 365.
Take me